What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope things are going well. And today we had a pretty significant event go down with the Seattle Seahawks. We got ourselves our first ever press conference from Seahawk offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak. Klint Kubiak got on the mic with McDonald, and they spoke about the Seahawks at length in a press conference earlier today. Most people have probably already seen, at the very least, the highlighted comments, some of the more notable things said by the two. But I thought it'd be good to go ahead and summarize things in a video here. This video is powered by BetUS. And I'm just going to go through in roughly chronological order and talk about some of the comments that he or McDonald made. Not everything's in pure chronological order because some of the stuff kind of groups together. But let's go ahead and take a look here. So McDonald opened the press conference by talking about what a good person Kubiak is. High character, high integrity, scheme expertise, been around the game for a long time. Remember, he's got a father who coached in the NFL, so even before he was actually a coach, he was learning stuff. Track record with quarterback, he's probably talking about Cousins having 3 of his best years under Kubiak. Fitting scheme with the personnel. Talking about all these things that we need the offensive coordinator to do. All sounds good. Hopefully it comes together like that. He did say that our identity in 2025 would be a running team, which would definitely be welcome after what happened in 2024 when the running game often seemed completely forgotten about by this squad. So, sounds pretty good to me right off the bat. And then after that initial effusive praise being lobbed towards Kubiak from McDonald, the first thing that people swung into that I think people need to clue into here, and that's regardless of what side of the fence you fall on this issue, there was a lot of praise concerning Geno Smith. We got this tweet from Corbin. Klint Kubiak says the chance to coach Geno Smith was a huge draw to coming to Seattle, and he loves his aggressive nature and the adversity he has overcome in his career. And there were more positive comments about Geno, that he wanted to coach Geno Smith. He thinks he's great in the fourth quarter. He basically thinks very positively of Geno Smith. And there are definitely going to be people out there who say, well, what else is he going to say right now? He's on the team. And those people are right. But this just stacks on top of everything else we've heard from guys like Mike McDonald. And there's something people need to get their minds around here. And I'm going to say this as neutrally as I can. I'm not always neutral when I talk about these things, but I'm going to say this as neutrally as I can. If you are not a fan of Geno Smith and you don't want him on the Seahawks anymore and you don't like watching him play or whatever, you just don't want him anymore, I highly suggest you find a way to mentally make peace with the fact that not only is Geno Smith probably going to be the Seahawks quarterback in 2025, but he is probably getting extended. And I'm not telling you to feel differently about him than you currently do. But I am saying at some point in the next couple of days, you need to mentally make your peace with that possibility. Because everything I'm seeing indicates that is where this is headed. Geno Smith is going to get extended. Geno Smith is going to be the starting quarterback. Geno Smith is going to be the quarterback for more than one more year in Seattle. And you don't have to like it, but all I'm saying is mentally make your peace with it. Also understand that the Geno Smith hatred is mostly a fan thing. Understand that. Coaches, players, analysts, ball knowers, film grinders, their praise for Geno Smith is almost universal. So if you're thinking you're going to get somebody on this coaching staff or on this team or in this front office or whatever who doesn't like Geno Smith and thinks he's bad the way some of you guys think he's bad, that guy is rare. Generally speaking, the people in the NFL and the people who really study the game, the people who are really into this, like professionally, almost universally, not completely universally, obviously, but there is close to universal consensus that Geno Smith is good. So it's not like anybody else would have come in here and wanted something different. Just wanted to go ahead and put that out there now. And before I go any further into this press conference, I do want to tell you about my friends over at BetUS. I know the football season's over. There's still a lot of fun stuff you can bet on over at BetUS. You can do bets on where is Aaron Rodgers going to end up? Where's Cooper Kupp going to end up? Where's Matt Stafford going to end up? Who's going to go number one overall? Who's going to be drafted at this point? Who's going to be drafted at that point? We got baseball. We got hockey. We got basketball. Still stuff to bet on. Use promo code YouTube150 to get a 150% deposit bonus in your first deposit up to $2,000. Check out BetUS. Right. Okay. So, Aaron Levine here. Klint Kubiak quote, most important thing is being fundamentally sound and all the bells and whistles will come, which is great to hear because I think that while Ryan Grubb's offense lacked bells and whistles too, I think the main thing that really stuck out to me about his offense was it was not fundamentally sound. It was completely unbalanced. It kind of felt like he would go through the week with a plan, and then the game would start, and he would just come out and start wanting to throw the ball every single play. He would get caught up in his emotions almost and just forget about the run game. And before you know it, in a game that was not out of hand by any stretch of the imagination, you've got 50 passes and 15 runs or something like that. You have to do better than that. So I mean, I like hearing it. Hopefully it ends up being the case. We need to have a fundamentally solid team to do it. It's hard to be balanced when you have a terrible defense, so we're going to need to play good defense, but we took good steps in 2024, so why not? More steps in 2025. Kubiak also talked a little bit about the offensive line. Says he's looking for smart, tough, and dependable offensive linemen in his scheme. Those will be pillars of the group. Can't really say anybody on this team on the interior fits that mold, right? Like, Kubiak, like I said, talked extensively about how excited he was to coach Geno Smith, but he also spoke about some other players, including DK Metcalf, Ken Walker, and Charles Cross. Those were the guys who really seemed to stand out for him in terms of guys he's excited to coach. You'll notice that the only offensive lineman he mentioned is Cross, so get this man some better offensive linemen is all I'm saying. Get this guy the tools that he needs to succeed. I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's I don't think that it's too much of an ask here, but I wouldn't qualify any of our interior offensive linemen with the possible exception of Oluwatimi as smart, tough, or dependable. We hope Christian Haynes can get there, but it's too early to say that he's any of these things. Aaron Levine, another quote here from Kubiak on Metcalf. A lot of great skill to work with. Extremely excited to work with him. His physical presence brings a lot to our offense. I believe that it was McDonald who also talked about how when they were looking for an offensive coordinator, one of the main things they were focusing on is who is going to be the guy to get the most out of DK Metcalf. And one of the reasons why they landed on Kubiak was because he indicated he was the guy who had the best plan on how to use DK. So I'm going to say the same thing of DK that I just said about Geno. If you're not a fan of him, okay, I get it. I get it maybe even more than you know, but make your peace with him being here next year. Not because it's a guarantee, but because it seems like that's where things are headed. And, you have to protect your peace, right? You have to protect your state of mind. If you go through this offseason assuming that these things that you want to happen are going to happen, like Geno's going to get cut and DK is going to get traded, and then it doesn't happen, and mentally you can't take it, that's not good for any of us. So make your peace. This is probably what's happening. Also talked about Ken Walker. He can fit in any style. Don't know if I agree with that, but very excited in this zone scheme. That I certainly agree with. Whatever we can do to get him touches, like screens and etc., he's got a group of teammates that complement him well. Said it before, I'll say it again. I think Ken Walker fits Kubiak's outside zone scheme very well. So look for a lot of outside zone schemes. Look for a lot of touches for K9 in that context. Notice that he specifically says zone scheme. Obviously, in 2024, the Seahawks tended to have more luck with the gap scheme than zone scheme. But let's be clear here. We're going to hopefully have a bunch of new offensive linemen anyway. If we don't, that would be very disappointing. So it's not like we can't get guys capable of doing the zone scheme. So not too worried about that. But he was praiseful of Ken Walker. And again, I'm going to say it. I know a lot of people are done with Ken Walker. He's almost certainly going to be here. There's no real benefit to moving off of him. So make your peace with it. That's what I'm recommending. I'm not saying you need to change your mind on any of these players. If you don't like them, then you don't like them. And there's not much anybody's going to be able to do to change that. But make your peace with the inevitable reality here. Here was a fun one, and this was one that sparked a lot of discussion on Seahawks X, Seahawks Discord, Seahawks just in general. The beat reporters all sounded off on this one. Klint Kubiak says he loves playing with a fullback, and the Seahawks will have a fullback. We didn't really have one in 2024. Occasionally, Brady Russell would line up as one. Little bit of Charbonnet as one. Byron Murphy lined up as a fullback one time. So it looks like the Seahawks are going to be looking for a fullback here, and it looks like they're going to be using him quite a bit, which, okay, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with what would it be, 21 personnel, right? Like, 21 personnel has its place in the world for sure. And if Kubiak wants to do it, then he's going to get what he wants. Even 22 personnel. I don't know how much 22 personnel you're going to see, but could be some. And Nemhauser makes a good point here. Taysom Hill might be the guy. He may be a cap casualty for the Saints. Don't be shocked if Taysom Hill shows up in Seattle in 2025. Might be interesting. Kind of sort of gives you that fullback type role. Obviously, he plays a lot of different roles. He does a little bit of read option QB. He does a little bit of zone read QB. He does a little bit of tight end, like pseudo fullback stuff. So, interesting note. We'll see if it happens. Would be fun. I don't know how good it would be. The Taysom Hill stuff to me has always been a little gimmicky, but I do think that there is a context in which he can exist effectively. So definitely something to think about. If we are going with fullback heavy offense, then we need a fullback, and there aren't that many out there. So why wouldn't he go get the guy he coached last year? Kubiak did, however, go on to say that even though he likes being in 21 and 12 personnel, that would be 2 tight ends and 2 running backs, it'll come down to the roster and who the best 11 people are. He plans on using a fullback in Seattle. The team doesn't currently have one. So this is going to be the difficult balancing act. One of our we have 2 good receivers on this team right now, 2 really reliable receivers, DK Metcalf and JSN. JSN is a pure slot. So you can have a slot receiver on the field without having 2 outside receivers. But how much are you going to do that? It's not something you see a lot of. And with the situation on this team right now, if they're going with a lot of 2 tight end and 2 back looks, they would presumably need to line up with 2 receivers, one of them being JSN, a lot. So does he have the creative juices to get an offense like that over the finish line? Going to be interesting to see. Definitely going to give him a chance. Going to be open to it, but it's not conventional. It is not conventional to have an offense where you have a pure slot wide receiver and you go 2 wide high percentage of the time. He also talked a little bit about their run game. Talked about outside zone. Start with outside zone, so that is going to be his primary focus, which I think is going to be great for K9. I think that suits K9's skills. And honestly, I think it also fits Charbonnet. I think both those guys can play well in zone. But he did also say we're going to mix it up. There's going to be some pin pull. There's going to be some inside zone, which might be even better for a guy like a Charbonnet, and gap schemes based on player strengths. We have a philosophy that we believe in, but you've got to be able to win more than one way. That was one thing about Grubb that I did have appreciation for. He did go back and forth between zone and gap, and it felt like there was intelligence behind it. He went back and forth on zone and gap based on situations and player strengths, and that was one thing that I thought he did pretty good. Not much else, but You do have to win more than one way. Let's see here. Talked a little bit about red zone success from Corbin Smith here. We'll emphasize many things, but doing well on your base downs is a good start. Do well on first down and second down. You're more likely to have success on third down, or you don't even get to third down, and that's how you have success in the red zone. And there's obviously a lot to doing well in the red zone. Probably stuff that is even bigger than first and second down success. So we'll see what happens with that, but let's keep in mind the Seahawks were good in the red zone in 2022 and 2023. The struggles in the red zone in 2024 were largely a 2024 thing. And the struggles in the red zone, by the way, were mostly just the interceptions. They actually didn't do a bad job scoring at a strong rate in the red zone. They scored at a, I think, slightly above average red zone rate. They just had turnovers. So it can get better. There's no reason why it can't. McDonald did talk a little bit about Lockett, which is a little off topic of the rest of this press conference, but his comments on Lockett were, we're working through that right now. Those decisions will come in the next month or two. I find it hard to believe that Lockett's going to be back here. Notice how the language completely changes talking about Lockett compared to Metcalf, Geno, K9. Those are guys they sound like they're excited to keep. They're talking about their future plans, what they're going to do. They're excited. They're pumped to work with those guys. This does not sound like a coach that is confident he's going to have Lockett in 2025. So probably moving off of that, which to me, again, is common sense. It's a difficult yet easy decision to make. It is what it is. Also, concerning the coaching staff, we got this from Boyle. McDonald said the Seahawks may add some more coaches to the staff, but everyone still there will be back for 2025. So guys like Kennedy Polamalu, Jackson Frisman, Jake Peets, those guys are all going to be back. So I guess that's good. I'm not against it. Again, a lot of those guys weren't connected to Grubb, so they don't have to stay. They don't have to go. The guy who was connected to Grubb was Scott Huff, and he is gone. So I don't have any particularly strong opinions for or against any of that. I do like having Jake Peets because it seems like the team really likes him. And I do think that Jake Peets brings some nice things to the table. I just don't want to elevate him into that OC role yet. He's not ready for that. So, yeah, that is about all there is to say. So if you were wondering what's going on with these coaches down at the assistant level or positional level, if they're still on the team right now, the plan is that they come back. I know we hired an offensive assistant earlier today, Michael Byrne. Don't know much about him. Worked at PLU, though. I'm going to go and get out of here. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Shout out to BetUS for powering this video once again.